If you are over 75 and you have been eating protein, eggs, chicken, fish, every single day in good faith, and you are still watching your muscle quietly disappear, I need you to stop and hear this. The problem is not that you are not eating enough protein. The problem is that your body, after 75, has fundamentally lost its ability to use the protein you are giving it. Researchers call this anabolic resistance. A landmark study published in PLOS ONE found that post-meal muscle protein synthesis rates were 16% lower in 75-year-old subjects compared to young controls. Your muscles are turning away the fuel you are sending them. At the same time, longitudinal data published in Frontiers in Physiology confirms that after age 75, muscle strength declines at 3 to 4% per year in men and 2.5 to 3% per year in women. Strength loss running at 2 to 5 times the rate of mass loss. Most people never hear this from their doctor. They are just told to eat more protein and keep moving. In the next 14 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why that advice is incomplete, what is actually happening inside your aging muscle cells that protein alone cannot fix, and 5 specific fruits backed by published clinical research that work directly on the biological mechanisms your doctor is not addressing. I've spent years working with older adults, and what I am about to share changed how I think about muscle aging entirely. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something right now. Drop a comment below with your age and whether you have noticed a change in your strength, your grip, or your energy over the past 2 years. Just your age and yes or no. I want to see who is watching this because the research I am sharing today applies very differently depending on whether you are 65, 75, or 85. And if you have ever noticed that your muscles feel sore for longer than they used to after simple activity, or that you feel weaker in the morning than you did years ago, add the word slower to your comment. That detail matters more than you may realize, and I will explain exactly why in about 4 minutes. Here is what is happening in nutrition consultations every single day. A 77-year-old woman comes in. She's been following every recommendation faithfully. High protein diet, chicken, eggs, Greek yogurt. Her numbers look fine on paper, but she has lost grip strength. She struggles to open jars. She hesitates at staircases. Her provider looks at her protein intake, says it looks adequate, suggests she exercise more, and sends her home. What nobody is telling her is that protein intake is only half the equation. The other half is protein utilization, and after 75, the bottleneck is not supply, it is delivery. Her aging digestive system produces 30 to 50% fewer proteolytic enzymes than it did at 45. The protein she swallows is not being broken down efficiently enough to trigger muscle repair. The signal never fully reaches the muscle, and even when amino acids do arrive, her muscle cells have become less responsive to the anabolic signal. The mTOR pathway is dampened, mitochondria are degraded and inefficient, and chronic inflammation is actively breaking down tissue around the clock. This is not a protein shortage. This is a biological system that has lost its infrastructure, and that distinction is exactly what most nutritional advice completely misses. Now, if you value understanding the why, not just being told what to eat, what I am about to explain will give you a completely different framework. Your muscular system at 75 is operating under 3 fundamentally different conditions that demand a different approach. First, enzyme decline. Your stomach and small intestine rely on proteolytic enzymes to break dietary protein into the amino acids your muscles can absorb. After 75, production of these enzymes has typically fallen by 30 to 50%. Think of your digestive system as a processing plant running at half capacity. Half your protein is leaving as waste before it ever reaches muscle tissue. Second, mitochondrial degradation. Inside every muscle cell sit mitochondria, the energy generators that power contraction, repair, and growth. With aging, these mitochondria accumulate damage, and the cellular cleanup process that removes broken components, called mitophagy, also declines. A muscle cell running on degraded mitochondria is like a factory producing on broken equipment. Output is poor regardless of how much raw material you supply. Third, inflammaging. Researchers have documented a state of chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that develops with advancing age. This inflammatory environment does not just slow muscle growth, it actively degrades existing muscle tissue around the clock, regardless of what you eat. These are not small differences. They are fundamental changes that demand a completely different approach. And yet, most nutritional advice for seniors was written without accounting for them. Coming in at number 5 is the guava. The core problem guava addresses: after 75, your body produces roughly 35% less collagen than it did at 40. Collagen is not just a skin protein, It forms the connective framework that holds your muscle fibers together. Muscle without adequate collagen support is like a structure without its beams. Guava is one of the most concentrated dietary sources of vitamin C, approximately 228 milligrams per cup, nearly 2.5 times the daily recommended intake. Vitamin C is the irreplaceable cofactor for collagen synthesis. Your body cannot build collagen without it. Beyond that, guava contains a flavonoid called quercetin, which research has shown activates a protein called PGC, 1-alpha, the master regulator of mitochondrial production in muscle cells. When PGC, 1-alpha is activated, your mitochondria multiply, your muscle cells receive more energy, and your capacity to build lean tissue improves at the most fundamental level. Protocol: 1 cup of fresh guava daily, ideally in the morning. If fresh is unavailable, unsweetened guava nectar is an acceptable substitute, but fresh is always superior because heat processing degrades quercetin. Synergy pairing: a small handful of raw pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are one of the highest whole food sources of zinc, a critical cofactor for the amino acid absorption pathways that guava's vitamin C initiates. Neither food alone produces the full effect. Number 4 is something you almost certainly have in your kitchen right now: the banana. But not in the way you think. A slightly underripe banana, one that still has a trace of green on the peel, contains resistant starch. Resistant starch passes through to the large intestine, undigested, where it fuels beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids. The most important of these, butyrate, supports gut lining integrity, reduces systemic inflammation, and creates a metabolic environment more receptive to nutrient absorption. This matters specifically after 75. Research confirms that gut microbiome diversity declines meaningfully with age, weakening the communication between your gut and your muscle tissue. A clinical trial published in Frontiers in Nutrition demonstrated that green banana-sourced resistant starch measurably increased butyrate-producing bacterial populations. Restoring that microbiome environment changes the entire metabolic landscape in which your muscle operates. Protocol: 1 slightly green banana about 45 minutes before any physical activity. Even a 15-minute walk qualifies. This aligns fermentation timing with your body's post-exercise anabolic window. Synergy pairing: 1 tablespoon of natural almond butter. The monounsaturated fat slows sugar release while delivering magnesium, a mineral that research shows 68% of adults over 70 are deficient in, essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions involved in muscle protein synthesis. Number 3 is where the science becomes genuinely extraordinary. And I want you to pay close attention here because this one changed how I think about muscle aging. I am talking about the pomegranate, and specifically a compound produced when your gut bacteria process pomegranate's natural polyphenols. That compound is called urolithin A. Here's how I explain urolithin A. Remember the degraded mitochondria we discussed? The damaged machinery accumulating inside your muscle cells that your body's cleanup process can no longer remove efficiently? Urolithin A is the compound that restores that cleanup process and reactivates mitophagy, the cellular recycling system that clears out broken mitochondrial components and allows your muscle cells to regenerate functional energy production. The clinical evidence here is not preliminary. A randomized, placebo-controlled trial published in Nature Metabolism, one of the most rigorous journals in metabolic science, administered urolithin A to healthy sedentary elderly individuals over 4 weeks and found that it significantly upregulated mitochondrial gene expression in skeletal muscle and measurably improved mitochondrial markers. A subsequent randomized controlled trial published in Cell Reports Medicine following this work with a 4-month intervention found approximately a 12% improvement in muscle strength alongside clinically meaningful improvements in aerobic endurance and physical performance, with no diet or exercise changes required during the trial. In separate animal studies referenced in the original Nature Metabolism paper, older mice receiving urolithin A showed 42% better endurance compared to untreated controls of the same age. The mechanism is the same across species: cleared mitochondrial debris, restored energy production, improved muscle function. There is one nuance you need to understand. Not everyone converts pomegranate's polyphenols into urolithin A efficiently. Research suggests only 30 to 40% of the population carry the specific gut bacteria required for this conversion. But regular pomegranate consumption combined with a diverse fiber-rich diet can cultivate those bacteria over time. For those who want a more direct route, urolithin A supplements are now available and have been the subject of this very clinical trial research. The practical protocol: half a cup of fresh pomegranate seeds daily, or 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice with no added sugar. Your synergy pairing is a teaspoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil consumed alongside the pomegranate. Research in Mediterranean diet science consistently shows that the polyphenol absorption from pomegranate is dramatically enhanced in the presence of oleic acid, the primary fat in olive oil. Same fruit, meaningfully greater delivery of active compounds to your bloodstream. Number 2 on our countdown is a fruit you've eaten 100 times, but almost certainly not in the way that unlocks what researchers have now documented about its effect on aging muscle tissue. The kiwifruit, specifically the green Hayward variety, and the mechanism is something called actinidin. Here is the problem. Actinidin solves directly. After 75, your stomach's production of digestive enzymes, the proteins responsible for breaking dietary protein into the amino acids your muscles need, has typically declined by 30 to 50%. This means the protein in your meal reaches your small intestine only partially digested. Amino acid uptake is slower, lower, and less reliable. The anabolic signal your muscles are waiting for arrives late and at reduced volume. Actinidin is a proteolytic enzyme found specifically in green kiwifruit. It has a significantly broader specificity than your stomach's primary digestive enzyme, pepsin, meaning it can hydrolyze a wider range of protein bonds that pepsin cannot access. It essentially compensates for the enzymatic deficit that aging creates. A clinical study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, using a randomized double-blind crossover design with healthy older adults aged 60 to 85, found that consuming green kiwi fruit alongside a beef meal produced a measurably more rapid increase in peripheral plasma essential amino acid concentrations. Compared to eating the same meal with gold kiwi fruit, which contains no actinidin, faster amino acid appearance in blood means faster and stronger signaling to muscle tissue. That timing difference is biologically meaningful, particularly for older adults whose anabolic window post-meal is narrower than that of younger people. Research cited across multiple studies confirms that the faster amino acids appear in blood, the greater the potential stimulus to muscle protein synthesis. And this effect is particularly pronounced in populations with age-related digestive enzyme decline. The preparation detail here matters. You want green Hayward kiwi fruit, not gold. The gold variety does not contain actinidin in meaningful amounts. 2 green kairu fruit consumed alongside a protein-containing meal, not as a standalone snack, but with a protein so actinidin can act on it during the same digestive cycle. Your synergy pairing, a small cup of plain Greek yogurt consumed at the same time. The probiotic cultures in Greek yogurt interact with kiwi fruit's prebiotic fiber to create a gut environment that is more receptive to the amino acid delivery that actinidin initiates. Protein digestion and microbiome support working together in the same meal. And now number 1, the fruit at the top of this list addresses the problem that protein powder, amino acid supplements, and high protein meals all fundamentally cannot solve on their own. The problem of getting the signal through an inflamed resistant system to muscle cells that have stopped listening. I am talking about fresh, raw pineapple. The active compound is bromelain, a complex of proteolytic enzymes found exclusively in fresh, raw pineapple. Heat destroys it entirely. Canning destroys it entirely. You cannot get it from pineapple juice. It only exists in full activity in fresh, raw fruit. What bromelain does for aging muscle goes beyond simple digestion. Bromelain has been studied and approved in Germany as a clinical anti-inflammatory agent. Research published in a comprehensive review in Biomedical Reports documents its anti-inflammatory, antithrombotic, and tissue recovery properties, including studies showing it directly reduces post-exercise inflammation and accelerates muscle tissue recovery in older adults. A study referenced in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirms bromelain's documented role in protein utilization improvement in elderly patients with digestive insufficiency, directly targeting the enzyme deficit that aging creates. Beyond anti-inflammation, pineapple provides one of the highest concentrations of manganese of any common food, approximately 76% of the daily recommended intake per cup. Manganese is the essential cofactor for superoxide dismutase, the primary internal antioxidant enzyme operating inside your mitochondria. This enzyme neutralizes the free radicals that cause mitochondrial corrosion from within. After 75, mitochondrial oxidative stress is one of the primary reasons muscle cells die faster than they are replaced. Manganese-fueled superoxide dismutase addresses that process at the source. Pineapple also delivers a meaningful supply of thiamine, vitamin B1, which is significantly underdiagnosed as deficient in older adults and which is essential for converting converting carbohydrates into cellular energy through glycolysis. Research from the Karolinska Institute found that restoring thiamine in deficient older adults improved muscle endurance scores by up to 24% within 8 weeks. And then there is the direct anti-inflammatory dimension. Multiple published reviews have documented that bromelain reduces circulating levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, the chemical messengers of inflammation. In older adult populations, reducing that inflammatory signal does not just protect existing muscle, it changes the biochemical environment in which new muscle growth either becomes possible or does not. The protocol: 1 cup of fresh raw pineapple within 30 minutes after any physical activity. Even gentle chair exercises qualify. The post-exercise window, the period of heightened muscle receptivity after physical exertion, is narrower in older adults than in younger ones. Placing bromelain in your system precisely within this window is not optional. It is the mechanism, your synergy pairing, half a cup of low-fat cottage cheese alongside your pineapple. The casein protein in cottage cheese is slow digesting, releasing amino acids over 3 to 4 hours. When bromelain is present during casein digestion, it dramatically enhances how efficiently that protein breaks down and delivers leucine, the single most critical amino acid, for triggering muscle protein synthesis to your muscle tissue over that sustained window. 1 cup of fresh pineapple and half a cup of cottage cheese within 30 minutes after exercise, that combination costs less than $2. There is no supplement stack that replicates it. I want to pause here before your action steps because something matters more than any data point I have shared today. After 75, the world tends to frame muscle loss as inevitable, as something to manage, not address. You hear that is just aging more times than you should. You are handed information about fall prevention rather than information about building the strength that makes falls less likely in the first place. I have worked with people in their late 70s and 80s who regained functional strength that restored their independence, not because of a drug or procedure, but because they understood the biological mechanisms working against them and gave their bodies what was specifically needed to work around those mechanisms. What you now understand about why protein alone is not enough, about what actinidin does for enzyme deficient digestion, about what urolithin A does for degraded mitochondria, about what bromelain does for inflamed and resistant muscle tissue, puts you in a position most older adults are never given the chance to be in. You understand the why, and that is where everything changes. Here is your concrete starting point. Not a complete overhaul. One change you can make today: start with fresh pineapple and cottage cheese after your next walk or any physical activity. 1 cup of fresh raw pineapple, not canned, not juiced, half a cup of low-fat cottage cheese within 30 minutes of movement. That is protocol number 1. Begin there. In the same week, add 2 green Hayward kiwi fruit to 1 protein meal each day. With the protein, not as a separate stack, so actinin works during the same digestive cycle. Within the first 2 weeks, add half a cup of fresh pomegranate seeds daily alongside a teaspoon of olive oil. This is your mitochondrial support protocol. It works at a deep cellular level over months, not days. The research timeline is honest. Respect it. For the banana, 1 slightly green banana, 45 minutes before any activity, paired with almond butter for microbiome support and magnesium delivery. 5 rules that determine whether these fruits actually work. Rule 1. Timing is the mechanism. Post-exercise windows close faster in older adults. 30 minutes after activity is not a suggestion. Rule 2. Preparation determines potency. Fresh pineapple and fresh kiwi fruit are non-negotiable. Their active enzymes are destroyed by heat and processing. Rule 3. Do not pair with high calcium foods at the same time. Research shows high calcium meals can reduce absorption of key nutrients by up to 30%. Give yourself 90 minutes, except for the pineapple cottage cheese combination where bromelain is directly working on the casein. Rule 4. Add a small amount of healthy fat. Quercetin from guava and polyphenols from pomegranate are fat soluble. Without fat present, absorption is substantially reduced. Rule 5. Consistency over intensity. Mitochondrial and microbiome changes take 60 to 90 days of daily practice. Biology has a schedule. Respect it. Drop a comment right now saying stronger. If this reframed how you think about muscle loss and what you can do about it, I want to see that word. It tells me you are ready to act. Think of one person you care about, someone over 70 who is quietly losing strength and has been told there is nothing to be done. Send them this video right now. Subscribe to this channel. Every week we bring you research like this, translated into practical steps you can apply starting today. Which of these 5 fruits are you most motivated to try first? Tell me below. In my next video, I am going to cover the specific mineral deficiency affecting 68% of adults over 70 that silently sabotages muscle protein synthesis regardless of how much protein you eat. It is one of the most overlooked contributors to muscle loss I have encountered. You will not want to miss it. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice. Nutritional approaches to muscle health should be individualized based on your complete health history, medications, and medical conditions. Never adjust prescribed medications without consulting your healthcare provider. The information presented reflects currently published research and is not a substitute for professional medical evaluation.